We okay? Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Committee of the Whole meeting, Sue's Town Council, Tuesday, July the 21st, 2026 at 9 a.m. in Council Chambers. So we need the approval of the agenda, and I'm assuming there are no late items. Thank you. Councillor King, Councillor Poderica, all in favor. Thank you. And the adoption of some minutes, the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes of June the 23rd, 2026. We have a motion. Thank you. Councillor Bennett, Councillor Chong, all in favor. Thank you. And first off, we have a delegation today, the economic benefits of libraries. And we're happy to have Danielle Hubbard, the CEO of the Okanagan Regional Library, here with us. Welcome, and go ahead, please.
Thank you so much. This sounds live. Yes. Okay, good. Thank you so much for making time for me on your agenda and making time for me in the summer. I know a couple of you already commented that it feels like I was just here because this year I'm trying to fit all my council presentations in before the election season hits. So I tried to make this presentation different than the one I delivered last year, so it won't be a complete repeat. But really my main goal with coming out and speaking with council is first of all to thank you for your continued support for library services, and of course to provide an update on what we're up to and give you the opportunity to ask me any questions. So this is who I am. I'm Danielle Hubbard, the CEO of the Okanagan Regional Library. I try to come out at least once a year to visit the branch and once a year to speak with council. So as the mayor said, the theme of today's presentation is the economic benefits of libraries. And actually one point I wanted to make right off the bat that isn't in the slides, because I didn't know this would be happening yet when I submitted the slides, is that the Osoyoos branch is an official cooling center during the current heat dome that we're experiencing. So that's thanks to an agreement that the library entered into with the RDOS this past spring. So we've agreed to be a cooling center at least until the end of Thursday, and we'll see what the weather holds for all of us after that. But that's a service we're happy to provide when we're able to. All right, so the first point I was planning to make ahead of time, which I think I start with this every year, is a reminder that we are part of a regional system. So we would not exist as a library without the support of all of our councils, including Osoyoos, of course. And Osoyoos is one of 24 local governments that feed into the Okanagan Regional Library's services. And this is one of 30 branches. So we're one of the largest library systems in BC, and in fact, the 16th largest library system in Canada, which is really a benefit to each one of our members that we have a larger collection and more resources than we could support in any one of our branches independently. So up on the screen there is a picture of our headquarters in the suburbs of Kelowna. So Councillor Bennett, who's our representative on our board, gets to come to this building 4 times a year for our board meetings. What a treat. And that's where our collections are handled. So we bring in books, we process them, we catalog them, we send them out and circulate them to all 30 of our branches. All right. So one area that I have seen our staff participating in more and more year over year is assisting folks with job searches. So during the COVID years and subsequent to the COVID years, more and more people are discovering that the Okanagan's a fantastic place to live. And so people are moving here, and sometimes people don't have employment lined up, or for whatever reasons, they're looking for employment. And the library is a place with friendly staff here in Osoyoos. It's Joanne Shafik is our community librarian here. And so she and her team are helping people every day with printing, with formatting resumes, with photocopying resumes, with navigating the intricacies of online application portals that seem to be different for every job one applies for. So that's an area that our staff are helping people all the time. And so then this is just a snapshot of the level of usage that our libraries are seeing. So what's up on the screen is system-wide usage stats from 2025, because of course that's the last full year that we have. And then I'm also going to tell you the stats here in Osoyoos as well that I can share afterwards if people are interested. So in 2025, On a daily average, almost just shy of 4,000 folks came through the door of an Okanagan Regional Library branch, which is a pretty good stat considering that many of our branches are not open 7 days a week. We only have 3 locations open 7 days a week. So to hit that average, it means that really on most days, there are more people than that coming through the doors of a library in the Okanagan. We ran 35 programs on a daily basis system-wide on average. So again, we have 30 branches, many of which are not open full-time. So many branches are running a lot more than one program a day. Here in Osoyoos, to that first number of how many people came through the doors, in Osoyoos in 2025, 37,859 folks came through the doors of the Osoyoos branch, and staff offered 469 programs, which was a 40% increase over the year before. So an increasing number of programs. Some of those are passive, like they're programs that people can come in, pick up craft kits or pick up things that they then do from home. Just I saw a little bit of startlement of like, have people been cloned? And that's not the case yet. We haven't figured it out. And attendance at those programs last year here in Osoyoos was 9,718 people came out for a program at the Osoyoos Library, which is pretty cool. All right. So another area that libraries support economic development in communities is that we're what we call a third space. So we're not a home, we're not a place of work officially. We're not a business that people have to pay to come in and spend time. We're kind of a pro-loitering space where people can pull up a table, catch up on their email, especially a place like Osoyoos where people often are visiting here, or they're traveling through, or they don't have a home office, or they work remotely, but they have family visiting. Then the library is often the space that people come to do their work and to meet with clients and all that kind of stuff. And that's a picture of the Summerland branch, but the same factor applies here in Osoyoos, that people are meeting in our spaces to conduct their business. Another area where staff are helping folks increasingly, I would say, is with technology support. So, of course, we all have phones and computers and devices and all these things that are required to function in everyday life. And our staff are helping people with those devices all the time. We also have a partnership with Desert Sun Counseling in Osoyoos and in Oliver. So they come in during the fall through spring and do one-on-one tutoring or help with people with their devices. So if someone comes into the branch, they have an issue, they have a problem, they have questions, our staff will do their very best to help them. But then if it's getting really involved and complicated, our staff can also connect people with Desert Sun and they'll provide more in-depth help. And then languages, of course, are really important. We're at the library. We promote literacy and learning. The majority of our collection is in English. We do also have a French collection, though, that circulates between our branches like everything else. We also have a Ukrainian collection that we added a few years ago in response to the influx of newcomers from Ukraine. And then this year, we've also invested $52,000 in e-resources of other languages. So those are e-books or e-audiobooks that people can download through Libby, our online library system. And that way we're able to offer quality materials in other languages that our staff don't necessarily have fluency in. So we're going to see how those go and probably build on that with time, because I think the whole Okanagan is becoming more diverse as time goes on. And then this slide always makes me smile because I'm the CEO of the library and all of our staffing and operations ultimately flow up through me. So I take great pride in the fact that we're also an employer in the area. When I was in Oliver last night, their development officer said that his partner had recently got a job at the library. And so I was like, oh, yes. I just love that there are people in our communities that are coming here to work. We usually do a hiring drive in the spring and in the fall, and a lot of our staff start as auxiliaries, so they work between multiple locations, and then some people want to stay as auxiliaries, or if people want permanent shifts, then many people will work at one branch but still take on-call shifts at other locations. which allows people to fill out their hours and is also fantastic for us as an employer because then people are sharing ideas from one community to the next. So, for instance, Georgia, who used to be the librarian here, she's now in Oliver. So, that's like we're always sharing ideas back and forth as staff move around. And then we have a meeting for all of our community librarians twice a year in Kelowna, once in the spring and once in the fall. So we get everyone together in person as well. But that's another way we contribute to the economy is we are in fact employing people. And then ending on a positive note is children's programming and children's services. So right now we're in full swing of Summer Reading Club, which was one of the areas I focused on last year when I came out and presented. So Summer Reading Club spans June, July, and August. Kids can come into any branch, they sign up for a reading record, they get prizes when they hit certain milestones. This year, the theme is Under the Sea, and we have a special program this year called the Maker Tour. So we have 2 staff with science, engineering, technology, and teaching backgrounds, and they're traveling around to each branch delivering interactive STEAM programming. So one of the things they do is show kids how to build a very simple robot that can go down and pick things up from the ocean floor, which is actually the floor of the library in this case, and various other activities like that that are like interactive, ocean-based, and STEAM-based. And they are coming here to a Soyuz, I don't remember off the top of my head, on August 6th at 1 p.m. One of the other big programs is Bob the Fossil Guy on July 21st, right in the present. Evan the Juggler on July 28th. And this is all in addition to weekly story times and other programs that Joanne and her team are running. And we also have during the school year a half-day Hangouts program. So when there's a professional development day and the schools are closed, then the staff at the library run a half-day of interactive programs. So some of the things they do include robots and coding, crazy recycling crafts, and kind of stories, whatever they can come up with to keep kids engaged on those days off of school. And I think that concludes my official presentation, but if you have any questions or comments, I'm happy to take them.
Thank you very much. You're very enthusiastic, and we we certainly appreciate that. I was sort of noting too that that a library in a community is kind of a social hub too, isn't it? It's a place where people can go and meet friends and feel comfortable, and that's a really good thing. That's really important. So, thank you very much for coming back. We have a couple of questions. Go ahead, Bob. Councillor Appleby.
I download a lot from the library to read.
Mhm.
When I visit to borrow a book, is that considered that I went through the doors type of thing on your number of 2,900 or whatever people?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
if I do it twice in a day,
Oh, yeah, that's true. If you could just stand in the doorway and go back and forth multiple times and really increase our stats. But I'd prefer you don't because that would skew them. But it's true. So it isn't necessarily like number of individual people through the doors, it's number of visits. That's true. Yeah, you could rig the system, but please don't. Okay.
And when my children went to school here, they loved the library program. So I'm certainly glad to see that it continues. And anytime that I go in, and I say to people, you need to go to the library. Don't ignore it. You're paying for it on your taxes. You need to look at that and, make good use of it. And so I understand this year, because the Okanagan Regional Library had a table at our farmers market with
yes.
sometime this summer, and there's an adult program as well, and I haven't used it because I've been away, so I wasn't sure. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, I might not know all the details as well as Joanne would be able to if you go into the branch. But yes, there's also an adult stream of the Summer Reading Club. So summer reading club, I think that's what you're referring to, is it? Yeah. Summer reading club, it's actually province wide. So all libraries in BC do a version of summer reading club. What the province supplies is for school age kids. So it's like really focused on 8 to 12-year-olds. And then at the ORL, we've created our own adult summer reading club. So it works similarly that adults also can come in and get a reading record and get incentives to keep reading. Although I don't know how many adults like read picture books and just read for 10 minutes a day, but it's like if you read a mystery book and you read it's kind of like the gamification of reading. I also just wanted to add, here in Osoyoos, we're also fortunate to have support from the Friends of the Library group. So it's a group of volunteers who do fundraising and support for the library that way, which not all of our branches do. It really depends on the will of the community. So some of the things that the Friends group has been able to do for the library this past year, they bought a board game collection that don't circulate, but people can come into the branch and hang out and spend time and play games and do puzzles as well. So there's sort of like add-ons like that that we get in addition to our official funding that we're really grateful for.
Thank you. And actually, the books that they collect, that they use for, are sitting right on the other side of this wall.
Oh, so you're well
There's
aware of
boxes
this.
and boxes and boxes of them.
Thank
So,
you.
did you have a question? Go ahead, Councillor Chung.
Thank you for the presentation and all the good work you guys do. Just in terms of some of the events where there's a suggested kind of age limit, if a child is kind of outside that age limit, is it still possible for them to attend? Like if they're younger and require like a caregiver present, obviously not gonna see you in like 2 hours. But are these hard age limits or?
Oh, I'm really glad you asked that. It's almost like I staged it. No, none of our age limits are hard. We have sort of age ranges on our programs to give people an idea of what the content is guided towards. But especially for the kids programs, we often will have like siblings of other ages also coming. And so it's just our way of saying like your 2-year-old might not understand what's going on and your 13-year-old might be bored. But if they really want to come, they can come. Yeah. So, and actually, same with the summer reading club. Like, we sort of sign people up based on age, but if there's someone who's a really precocious reader or a reluctant reader, they don't have to sign up for that specific age bracket. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? Well, thank you very much, Danielle. We really appreciate you coming down and informing us of all the great things that the library does. So we really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And I'll see some of you at UBCM in September. Thank you.
Okay, next we have staff reports, the draft purchasing policy amended, and we will ask Mrs. Keith to explain that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The purpose of this report is to bring forward an amended purchasing policy. A little background, the town adopted a purchasing policy in 2012, which was later amended in 2023. The current proposed amendments will align with policies with current procurement standards and practices used by neighboring municipalities. The policy sets out authorization requirements and competitive procurement processes for purchasing goods and services. Its purpose is to achieve best value through procurement practices that are competitive, where appropriate, and open and transparent. A normal process when bringing forward an amended policy, we would bring the old and the new and show kind of a black line or red line version so you know where the changes occurred. However, I took some leaps here and I rewrote the policy in a way that was difficult to show that. The layout's different. The number of definitions have changed. I've included changes to the transactional costs and limits. There is inclusion of application and processes, which each limit included procedure requirements to meet procurement standards. A defined section on surplus asset disposal was also added, and a list of exclusions and prohibitions were also included. So I've also brought a little PowerPoint just to kind of summarize where we're at with this current policy. Thank you. There we go. So the purpose and scope, as already indicated, we want best value through open competitive procurement. The policy sets out authorization and competitive procurement requirements for purchasing of goods and services for the town, applying to all acquisition and purchases made by employees. So first stage is competitive. We have open and transparent and best value. All of our policy does align with our delegation of authority bylaw and any applicable trade agreements that we have in place. I think you're going to have to do it, Gabe. Thank you. Again, so just to show the approval levels, we have CAO and designate with counter signatures of the department directors as specified in the delegation of authority bylaw. So that's any amount authorized by council within the annual budget and other staff with the approval of the supervisor up to $5,000. The procurement method by dollar value is indicated in this slide. So we have goods and services, consulting services, construction. This is where some of the changes were, and I can just kind of summarize quickly. They weren't dramatic. We just added more to it. The old policy specified a level of up to 1,000, when we've now increased it to up to 10,000. We also included from 10,000 to 75,000, where the old policy went up to 30,000. And then the graded to 75 was similar for this policy and the old policy going forward. That's for goods and services. Consulting services pretty much did not, the old policy did not identify consulting services specifically. So we've added this section in to align with, again, industry standard. And construction, the old policy did indicate less than 200,000 and greater than 2,000 being a competitive process requirement. With every purchase, we move through these 4 steps. So we confirm and approve where the staff that put in charge during the purchase would get approval by their authorizing individual, and would go through and get, where needed, quotes and budget numbers. They would solicit a quote or competitive process required for the transaction value. Purchase orders would then be created for signature, or it would go to a bid process on BC Bid, and then we award for best value. For the competitive bidding process, I think everybody's aware of these terms. We can solicit an RFQ, a request for quotation, an RFP, a request for proposal, an RFT, a request for tender, and an RSOQ, a statement of qualification evaluation on suppliers' qualifications. As set out before, the old policy didn't talk in depth to any of these items, so we've kind of brought that forward to show obvious exclusions would be property, land and accommodations, legal, health, social services, memberships, emergency purchases. Prohibitions, of course, would be purchases for personal use by officials and or staff, splitting a purchase to evade limits, and that's buying piece by piece to make sure you stay under the standard. And then committing the town without proper authority. And then once we get to this level of compliance, we want to ensure everyone has their WorkSafe registration and clearance letters, insurance where applicable. They meet our Freedom of Information and Private Act, and surplus assets would get CAO approval. And the surplus asset, again, was an area that was not necessarily discussed, which means if we decide at some state to dispose of assets, how do we go about that disposal? And that's everything for that slide. Is there any questions?
Yes, thank you very much. I'm sure there are a couple questions. Go ahead, Councillor King, you go first.
One question only. In the policy under 5.2 on mine, and it was shown up there, this is authorized staff must select the supplier that provides the best value to the town. Now, does best value mean the lowest bid, or how do you define best value?
It's not necessarily the lowest bid. I think it's a number of things. The qualifications, it could be the bid value, it could be the location of where they're coming from, and the work that needs to be done. We do want to support, as we've said in here, ethical purchasing as well as local, where possible.
So you have a criteria kind of sidebar that fits that definition then?
Yes, we do.
Thank you.
So can I ask, we've got, it says the town will, 4.10, the town will strive to employ social procurement where possible and practical. And I'm wondering if that's the same as if there's 3 people that have bid for something, one of them is local, can we provide added points because we're saying shop local? Or is that included in one of the other parts that you've mentioned in here?
Yeah, in the definitions, we talk about social procurement, meaning more ethical and environmental. As such, when we also talk about local where possible and where it makes sense. So we do want to have that in every part of our purchasing, regardless if it's competitive or not. We do want to shop local where possible and where it makes sense.
But if they are not the lowest bid and we need to do, then we can't do it that way. We have to play it by ear. How do we do that?
We have to look at the various variables when it comes to that. I know we want them to be competitive because we
Mhm.
do want best value
Mhm.
for the town. But, you know, if it's close, that could be a tipping point, for example. But, you know, we do want it to be open, transparent, but competitive still, where we are getting best value for money, which doesn't always translate into lower bid, but CAO can respond.
If I could just add to that, social procurement also looks at sustainability measures. So firstly, for any substantial bid that we sent out, there would be criteria for how we would make that decision in the end. An example might be we were buying a whole bunch of K-cups for coffee makers, and some of them were recyclable and some were not. We would go with the recyclable one. That's an example of social procurement.
And the other thing is that we try to have a policy where we can share with other communities and with the regional district and buy in bulk. I think we have those policies already in place, do we not?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a section on that.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just noticed the word bid bond on there, and I'm quite aware what those are, but do you want to just kind of explain what the bid bond does to council? Just why you would do that and where you would need it?
Well, quite often we want to have a bond in place in case they basically renege or remove themselves from the process, and then we're left without the ability to go forward without, say, having to contract a higher amount. So the bid bond is in place to cover the difference if we have to go to another competitive process and we have a different in value there, and that's what the bid bond would cover. Added protection. Yeah.
Is there anybody else that has any questions about this? Go ahead, Councillor Chong.
Thank you. Is there any, considerations just for efficiency's sake to kind of bake in yearly like CPI for some of the limits? Because over the years we've seen pricing increase quite significantly. And then, as you said, like at a certain amount, there's another set of protections and requirements instead of having to amend this in another like 3 or 4 years because those limits are too low now. Like, is there a way to just, every year we add CPI X amount, that limit goes up, and then that way we don't have to amend it?
Thank you for the question, Councillor. I would say that that's unusual for this kind of a policy. And if inflation has had that kind of an impact, we probably should relook at the whole policy at that point. While I'm talking, I wanted to add one more thing that we did add to this policy for the first time, and that's that we are going to be keeping vendor performance notes on substantial contracts that we do, so that those can be a consideration in future awards.
Thank you. I think that's a good idea. Go ahead.
And, the policy is really well done, so thank you. But what's to prevent how will a supplier know that such a policy exists, and how would they know that an employee has the authorization to make a certain purchase? I'm thinking like checks and balances.
From a supplier point of view, I think it's probably part of the bid process when it comes to competitive bid process. When it comes to any other type of procurement, when we do go out and request for a purchase order, that same information, that what we're requesting is shared with all vendors, so they have the same opportunity to address each one of them, and our processes would be communicated at that time.
And when somebody is applying to, for, some kind of a purchase, do we include this policy? Can we send it to them if they wish it or not?
We wouldn't normally do
yeah.
that. It's an internal policy, although it's publicly known. So we would definitely share the information.
Good, thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Poderica.
Sorry, I was just going to add to that. There is standard terms on the back of the purchase order as well.
Thank you. I think Director Colson kind of highlighted on what I was going to ask is, yeah, if there's a way where we could put a standard clause in there or reflective in all our bids, because I know we use a couple different options when we do place bids that, there's a disclaimer in place that says that all purchases must follow the town's purchasing or purchase policy in this case, just to ensure that vendors are
Absolutely.
aware and, aren't trying to find their way around the back door to.
Yeah, that
sale.
disclaimer is included in our purchase policy, as well as any of our bid documents, as well as in our 5-year plan or any type of capital procurement.
Good, so if there are no other questions, the recommended motion is that council approve the amended purchase policy, POL 034, as presented. Thank you. Seconded, Councillor Chong. All in favor. Thank you very much, Mrs. Keefe. Okay, the third item that we have today is the internal water conservation measures, and we'll turn it over to our CAO.
Yep, you can forward. Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Today, I want to talk to council about what the town is currently doing to conserve water and within our own operations, what we can do better in future. And finally, to encourage other members of the community to do the same. The town wishes to lead by example through our conservation in our facilities and parks and grounds and in our day-to-day operations, and to continuously improve and look for ways that we can continue to conserve water. Sorry. In recent months, SOS has experienced historic low lake levels and ongoing drought conditions. Water conservation is becoming increasingly critical, not only for our community, but for the region. As a municipality, we wish to do better in demonstrating responsible water use while balancing our service delivery and stewardship of both infrastructure and resources. In municipal facilities, the town has already made good progress. Many buildings have public washrooms and they've been upgraded with water efficient plumbing fixtures such as low flow toilets, auto shut off taps, and water efficient showers. Along with other water users, the town also has had meters installed in each of their civic buildings. So the next step in facilities is to use that water metering data to help measure our conservation efforts. And very importantly, to watch for possible leaks in our system and make sure that they're repaired rapidly, because it not only wastes money, but it costs money. We will continue to upgrade our older fixtures, and as they require replacement, we will budget to replace them. In municipal parks and grounds, several parks and sports fields are already using lake water or reclaimed water rather than using drink water to irrigate. Excuse me. We've also started installing more efficient irrigation controllers where possible. So what more could we do in municipal parks and grounds? We will regularly inspect irrigation system to identify leaks and repair them quickly. We will ensure that irrigation water is aimed at plants. It sounds obvious, but a variety of things in public spaces can cause the irrigation heads to move and no longer be hitting their target. We will examine where we could reduce watering times and convert to drip irrigation where it's possible. In still looking at municipal parks and grounds, we'll also look for opportunities to reduce high areas of water demand and consider allowing some grass to naturally go dormant during the summer. We will continue to look for places where we could replace thirsty landscaping with drought-tolerant, fire-smart plants and xeriscaping or xeriscaping. And being a resort municipality, of course, we do wish for public spaces to look great, but we also have to do so using less water in future. In our municipal operations, we've already made some changes, such as fleet vehicles are only being washed when necessary, and street sweeping is being carried out efficiently using water only where necessary. What more can we do in operations? Future initiatives could include expanding the use of reclaimed water where it's possible. We'll look at water saving unidirectional flushing in pipes and water main leak detectors. With aging infrastructure, it's a good investment to have technology alert us to any leaks. Another possible way of saving water in our everyday operations is for the fire department to reduce or only use water for training seasonally away from periods of high demand in other areas. So those are just some of the initiatives that the town can undertake to do our part in conserving water. And we would love to invite our community to also reduce their water use by adopting water-wise habits. Rather than just doing it by regulation, we would hope that the community understands that we all have to do our part in conserving the water that we have. So how can residents help? In upcoming weeks, the town will be offering water users access to the new Neptune 360 software that allows historic and real-time monitoring of water use. Water customers can use the data to track their conservation efforts and to identify expensive and water wasting leaks. Residents can also look for ways to swap out thirsty plants and replace them with drought-resistant and fire-smart options. There are many simple household conservations that can add up to make a meaningful difference. Just simple things like shutting off your tap while you rinse dishes or brush your teeth. More on water conservation efforts in the house in a moment. Other ways that the town could do better in helping residents conserve are to look at possible grants as water conservation incentives, to host more information sessions, such as the xeriscaping one that we offered a few months ago, and distribute resources and links with how-tos in them of many easy ways to save water around the house. Very small changes in habits can add up. Outdoor watering is by far the biggest hit in our water system each year. We have started to look at the initial metering data, and we are seeing hundreds of individual residential properties that are using literally thousands of waters or liters of drinking water, I should say, each time they do their irrigation. And I've got to be honest, it's just not sustainable for the community in the long term to be using that kind of numbers of liters of drinking water for irrigation. So in wrapping up, I thought I would showcase another beautiful xeriscape garden for anybody who's still hesitating and thinking they would rather have their lawn. That's low maintenance, low water use, and it's beautiful. So I'd be very happy to answer any questions the council may have. And we would love to hear from the community with any more thoughts of ways that the municipality or we could encourage other people to conserve water.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Coulson. I've been doing some traveling for the last couple of weeks, and I just wanted to point out when you're talking about reclaimed water, that several of the washrooms at airports that I have been in have used reclaimed water in their toilets. I thought that was interesting. It had a sign there, so I knew that that was happening. The other thing is ways to reduce water in your house. Because what we've been make water work is really based on outside irrigation, and we use way more in the Okanagan than in various other parts of the country. But one of the things I have always said, and I've said it on CBC, and my sister heard me say it some years ago and she was horrified, 3-minute showers. Oftentimes people will turn on the water and listen to music and that kind of thing. Well, that's a real waste of water. So we need to be thinking that way, just like shutting off the water when you're brushing your teeth, that type of thing. So I also want to say that, make water work. Take the pledge, please. And I don't think everybody in this room has done that yet. So I'm hoping that people in here and people in the community will take the pledge and make water work. And there's lots of information on Facebook and on OBWB about ways to do this. They've done a really good job of advertising how important protecting our water is. And of course, what we say is make water work, protect what matters, take the pledge and make water work. So I'm all in favor of this, and I thank you very much for presenting this in a way that covers a lot of things. Go ahead, Councillor
Yeah,
King.
thank you, Madam Mayor. Through the mayor, to Mr. Madison, the sprinklers were on in front of this art center last Friday. I'm just wondering if you were flushing out because of the work being done on 89th, or were they on that could be shut off?
I'm actually not too sure why they would have been on. I can check with the crew.
Okay, well, they definitely were on because I had to come to town hall. Another question, can we also talk to the RSMP? They have the greenest grass in town. Their water was one in a long time last week when I drove by. Would be another one to identify. And then one last question to Marge here. You talk about the budget for water main leak detectors. I thought our meters would do that.
Yeah, so the leak detectors that we're kind of looking into would be kind of an ongoing program where we measure in the water main itself. So we kind of work our way through the system and find leaks in the system, not past the curb stop into the property, but the ones in the actual distribution system.
So your meters they're only for residential reading then. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Chung?
Thank you. In terms of even further water conservation efforts, is there any exploration into potentially replacing the grass with other species like clover or yarrow, which are a lot lower maintenance, don't really require fertilizing, and the mowing schedule is also, I believe, a lot less, so it could yield a lot of cost savings. Do know that yarrow may not be pet friendly, so maybe just put that in gyro, but a little tongue in cheek. But it could be a good alternative. And even with the installation, like it could be phased without having to completely rip out the sod, because that's expensive to do as well. Just a thought.
Thank you for that. Absolutely, that's something that we could look at, and we want to do it strategically based on the use and a little bit at a time as well, just as we're looking at replacing things anyway, or we were looking at overseeding or putting down new turf. That is the time that we would consider that. One last thing I want to mention, our eyes really were bulging as we looked at some of the residential use of water that is the initial data coming out of the Neptune system of water metering. And some of the highest users, we will actually be going and knocking on doors and asking them what is their watering habits, and just double checking that they don't have some kind of a leak. It could be they're turning on their irrigation and it's just like belching water into the ground and they're unaware. But we don't want any residents to be concerned if we are knocking on the door. We're just trying to help the overall conservation effort.
Go ahead, Councillor Kidd.
One last question. Thank you, Madam Mayor. You talked about people will be able to go on to the Neptune 360 in the near future. Is that near future, sorry, within 30 days or?
Yes, the platform is already ready to go. We're just putting together a kind of a communication campaign to let the public know and how they can get set up. We're taking any requests even as we speak. Absolutely.
Okay, well, thank you. I think this is good information. And I'm certainly hoping that any of the public that's watching this today, if they have an idea that could be added to this list or something that they're doing that makes sense, I would hope that they would let us know. Because I think it's really important. This is going on all over the country. It's not just in Osoyoos. It's certainly in the Okanagan, and you know, the International Lake Osoyoos Board of Control that I'm on, they're very concerned about it. So is the Collaborative Leadership Table, worried about it all up and down the Okanagan and up into the, you know, and up into the hills, because we're at 0% of water anywhere up in the hills. So we really need to be careful and protect what we've got. Go ahead, Councillor Poderica.
Thank you, Worship. Sorry about that. Just for you, Director Madsen, are we still seeing a significant number of sprinklers being damaged due to vandalism?
Again, that's something I'd have to look into. I wasn't aware we actually had sprinkler heads damaged.
I can remember in the past thinking, finding out that down at Gyro, for instance, was a one place that oftentimes sprinklers had to be replaced. I don't know whether people, setting up for events but that would be a good place to look at, because I have a feeling there's lots being replaced there, or there have been. Okay, anything else? Well, thank you very much, Mrs. Colson, for presenting this. I think it's really important. And do we need to just accept that? No, so it looks to me like we're at the end of the agenda. We have it terminated 1 and 2. Chong King, not the other way around.